Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're still deep here in the kickoff qualifier for ANZ. We haven't secured some tickets just yet because we've got a whole another day of competition ahead of us after this. But Hoots, it's been a pretty long day for us so far. We've seen some really good series. We've seen some back and forth series as well. And I think that's the best part that we've shown so far in this kickoff qualifier is the fact that some of these teams are still going all three maps and still so close.
Yeah, and we've seen established names, we've seen new names. That last series was fantastic to see BBR, who's a stalwart of the Australian Halo scene and still going strong. And you've got names like Ads and Dante, as we spoke before, and even Brad, he's been around for a long time. And it was just a fantastic series to see. That oddball game was right down to the wire. But yeah, I've loved even just watching Apes. The first series we had, a team we've never heard of before. And we see a couple of guys just going absolutely crazy, putting up numbers that we haven't really seen on any of the casts so far.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be exciting to see if we get to have the Apes back on the stream, maybe somewhere down the road here. But lads, let's go and have a look at the bracket. We've already sent 3 of our teams into the next day. Off stream, the Direwolves were able to get a 2-0 victory over the 16-20 Kings here. And Justin, this is where we get to set our sights onto Divine Mind and Australian Rush, because this is going to be the last qualification that we're going to see here in the winners bracket.
Yeah, and one would favour Divine Mind in this, but we'll go into the highlights soon. Australian Rush, they've got some talent on that squad. Once we bring them up, you'll recognise some of these names. So love to talk about them. But Divine Mind, they're clear second place favourite at the moment. So will Australian Rush be able to challenge? They've got some talent on the squad, but sometimes that's just not enough when you have a gelling squad with plenty of chemistry, with just as much talent, if not more. It's going to be a hard-fought battle for Australian Rush.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be a bit rough for these guys to try and get the qualification and join into the next series against the Direwolves, who, congratulations to the Wolfpack, getting themselves into the next day. But lads, let's dive into this series. Divine Mind and Australian Rush are going to be head-to-head here. Winner of this will qualify to the next day. The loser will have to go into the elimination bracket, fight off a few more opponents to see if they can get themselves into the next day. And Hoots, this is going to be an absolute banger, especially if Divine Mind can show us with their roster changes that they're still up to the task.
Yeah, and we saw a really strong performance from them a couple of days ago. So it's not too far-fetched to think that they can hang just as much with the top teams, with your NutriBullets, etc. In the next series, but in the next time they come up against each other. But yeah, the real interesting change for Divine Mind has been they've now gone through another roster change. Slays is in, but Junior in particular, who's staying with the team, and we spoke about this a little bit earlier in terms of previously he'd said that Raleigh might be too tricky for him for a number of reasons. He's got work and quarantine that he'll have to do coming from South Australia and things like that. But look, he's locked into this squad, and if Divine Mind do get their ticket to Raleigh, that's who they have to go with if they want to go and compete there. So there's a lot of things to unpack there, and if we potentially can get a chat with Junior later on in the show, it'd be great to ask him about that.
Yeah, exactly. And who do you feel like is going to be the kind of highlight player for us to watch here in Divine Mind's hood?
I think it's Junior. I love watching him play. I found on Sunday that some of the routes he takes, and he's so sneaky. He was locking down that camo so often whenever it was up, and I just think he's got that level of aggression, but also he's very smart with how he plays. So he's the one who I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have a look at Slays on the other side of this for us, Hoots, because I really do feel like the Slays has been one of those players for Divine Mind that's been doing quite a lot of work for them. And obviously Divine Mind has been a team that has been showing up in a lot of these open qualifiers. And I think it's exciting to see that across this entire roster, that Slays has been one of those players that was a little bit absent from Open, so obviously wasn't in playing it, but now coming back into it, can he be the difference maker for Divine Mind? And I think that's the question with these roster locks, Hoots, that Slays is now here, and he's going to be the one that's going to be playing it in Raleigh if they do get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that some team changes, NutriBullet looked like they didn't miss a beat when they have added in pips. And so, is it going to be the same for Divine Mind? Because the game's so new, can we have new players popping into teams and it just works pretty seamlessly? That's something we're going to have to find out. Yeah,
exactly. It's going to be exciting to see if Slays can come back in and fit like a glove for Divine Mind, because it's all on the table here. On the other side of the server, Justin, we do have Australian Rush. We're going to be head-to-head against our second team, and I'm excited to see what they can put in the server.
Yeah, and I want to highlight Alejo. He's a star player, plenty of LAN experience and pretty respectable placements too. One thing I do want to talk about is I remember a couple of years ago we had a Halo 3 FFA at the Melbourne Esports Open, and over the 2 days you had to qualify for the final game, and he managed to take out first place beating out Berserk from Divide Mind. Berserk taking out second place. So Alejo showing that he has enough talent and enough shot to challenge these guys, because Berserk came off second best in that instance. And yes, it's Halo 3 and it's a FFA and all of those different things, but he's got the raw talent there, and we'll have to see if Australian Rush is able to translate that into putting a fight up to Divine Mind. And as you can see on screen, top 4 finish at Sydney World Qualifiers in 2018 for Alejo and Avank too, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly, and obviously he seems to have a lot of experience under his belt as well. With being able to compete multiple times internationally is a really big up for a lot of these players, being able to have that kind of cool, calm head, especially in these long qualifier suits, because it's all about making sure you're in the right mental space, making sure that, yes, you do have the frag power in the server, but you need to also make sure that you're keeping everybody in line throughout this whole series. Yeah,
LAN stamina is something that a lot of people probably don't think about until they actually get to a LAN and see how tiring it can be. So you're right, to have that experience overseas as well. I mean, keep in mind, a lot of these guys who do travel overseas to Raleigh for the first major there, they're going to be dealing with jet lag among multiple things. And I think just overall, a big international major is such an overwhelming experience in terms of everything that's going on around you. So to have that experience for him is a massive part.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see if it does play a part here in the server. Let's go and have a look at the maps here, lads, because I'm excited to see where we're going to end up. Obviously, we're in the same round, so we're going to end up on the same maps that we've had for our previous 2 series. And Justin, coming out here, Oddball has been a heartbreaker for us tonight, and obviously for the boys on R-rated as well. And I'm sure that might be playing in the minds here for Australian Rush and Divine Mind. But do we feel like, looking across these maps, that anybody's really got an advantage?
Many would argue the Divine Mind has the advantage just purely from where they stand on the pyramid of ANZ Halo. So I would favour them. However, Australian Rush, these guys have had plenty of experience playing these guys too. I mean, you get into custom 8s in our region, it's not segmented. It's basically whoever's available gets in, right? Like you just post, it's a big group chat for a lot of the ANZ competitive guys, and it's basically, we've got 7 people in the lobby, we need 1 more and someone jumping in. And, it's not really segmented in that same way that maybe other regions are, where the population's massive. So all the players on Australian Rush, they have plenty of experience playing against Divine Mind, and that might be enough to scrap together enough ball time to take away a game here.
Yeah, and I'm super excited if this is going to be a super tight series for us Hoots, because we actually get to see Bazaar here on the stream. We've only had 3 different maps for us today. We haven't gone through the entire map pool, and I personally want to see some Bazaar, especially CTF. Like, we haven't been able to see any capture the flag for today, and I want to see if we can get all the way to that 3rd map, just so we can see how these teams do play around on Bazaar and CTF.
Yeah, there are more maps, believe it or not, beyond Streets and Aquarius. I think we've seen Livefire as well at some point. But yeah, I would be looking forward to seeing a CTF. It's a completely different game type that we haven't seen tonight, obviously, and just the way teams set up, particularly on Bazaar. We've got the rockets and the grapple shot there, added together with the flag and a whole bunch of other things going on. So that's a map that I find the long sight lines on there lead their way back to Halo of the past a fair bit more, rather than the tighter confines of a Streets. But they all bring their different elements, and they're all really exciting to watch.
Yeah, I just want to get into that Bazaar map just so I can pick up a few tips and tricks. I think that's the biggest thing for me tonight, Justin, is I feel like I've found so many different hops, jumps, different things that I can do all throughout. Maybe I might be a lowly little mouse and keyboard player and can't grind too high, but maybe with a few of these hops and special tricks from the pros, maybe I might be able to get up there one day.
I got a vacant spot in my backpack, mate, so I'll carry you up into Onyx if you like.
Is it big? It has to be huge.
It's big. Don't worry about that. And I don't know if I'm just getting hungry, boys, but I want to see those chickens on Bazaar. I'd settle for some rats down in the sewers, boys, but I really hope we get there. I'm keen for some CTF action. That is just pinnacle Halo, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful getting to see the chickens. Obviously, some people are leaning towards you got to save the chickens. Some people are leaning towards you got to kill the chickens as much as you possibly can. I'm personally a chicken saver. I try and make sure that I don't actively go out and get rid of those chickens. But some of these players, some of these people
turn them into nuggets, mate. Into nuggets. Dip them
but
in
then
some
I've got to
barbecue
do extra
sauce.
work, Justin. I don't want to do extra work. I just want to have some chicken friends.
Panko crumbs. Drop them in the deep fryer. Delicious.
I think that's the first time panko crumbs have been mentioned on stream.
It won't be the last, boys.
And potentially the last time. But lads, let's jump into this series. Fingers crossed we get some Bazaar.
And Sorry to cut you off there. It's just having too much fun here, folks. I apologise about that. But we are going to be jumping in with Australian Rush versus Divine Mind. Those for the just tuning in, Divine Mind, second-ranked squad in ANZ right now, and Australian Rush, plenty of experienced Halo players on that squad too. But Divine Mind probably poised to, get this done so they can have a rest for the rest of the night and think about tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting off with Chef here, and I think we might be having a few little issues at the start there, but we're back on board now with Berserk, and he's obviously the rockets have already been taken. We just missed that in that initial spot. I think we're actually going to have a restart because we have had a lag out. Apologies to everyone at home. We have spoken about several times. Unfortunately, Australian internet is just not as good as what most other places in the world have. But look, we'll get that started up straight away. But Justin, let's just talk again about Divine Minds quickly. I mean, is it a complete foregone conclusion that they will be taking one of those spots to Raleigh? Obviously, we've spoken about the winner of this tournament gets tickets to Raleigh, but then the next top two teams also, based on points, get tickets to Raleigh as well. So is it a foregone conclusion that Divine Mind will get it, or is there a scenario where they actually might drop out and have someone else take their place?
Look, potentially. You just never know how things are going to play out. And I might just reference the start of Halo 5 in the NA region is that you had the Evil Geniuses squad. Throughout H2A, they were super dominant. Like, they just won absolutely everything. And then X Games, after losing Lethal, they still managed to take that out. But then after that, their placings just started to falter a little bit. And you just don't know when a team's momentum is just going to start tanking and another team kind of rises up and challenges for those top spots. So yes, Divine Mind is probably the favorite to come up and take that second spot, but you never know what's going to happen. And all it takes is one team to be doing the right things at the right time in the right tournament, and they're the ones that get to go overseas, and the other guys have got to sit at home. So Divine Mind guys, I have no doubt that they're like, boys, we haven't secured it yet. They've got to take it seriously, and I think that that's what they'll do.
Yeah, and look, Australians on the international scene, for those who are watching at home who aren't super familiar with the Australia-New Zealand region, Australian teams and New Zealand teams have competed internationally quite a bit, and we do go back to the very, very early days. We actually even had a Halo 2 player way back in the day competed in an MLG event, but most notably we had Team Immunity, who were the first group to go over and compete, and we spoke about it a little earlier. They were able to go over there and actually perform quite well, and it is worth noting that the Australia-New Zealand scene here compared to, say, the North American and European leagues is so much significantly smaller because of the size of our population. And so, I think we interviewed Barcode at the end of the tournament on Sunday night, and he said, make no mistake that, he's aware of where the Australian scene is at, and right now, the quality-wise, it might not be at the level that our North American and European peers are. But, given the opportunities and what the HCS season provides that they've given us through this roadmap, the avenues now for ANZ Halo to get back up to that level has never been greater. And Justin, I think you can speak probably from personal experience in terms of what the Halo scene was like here prior to that HCS roadmap being put out, if you did want to speak to that for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was a lot of people that were banking on Infinite going in huge, and like they're just waiting for that to come and to see what 343 and the HCS team were going to do for the future of Infinite, and it was all good news. And that roadmap, in my opinion, the most important thing for those players. It just means that the next year they can concentrate on playing Halo rather than questioning whether or not they're going to be able to compete soon. And you know what? Just because Australia is behind right now, they know where they need to get. And they've got to climb up the mountain, and these guys, they're the self-improvement type, so we'll see them continually get better. And other people have done it before, even up-and-coming players in the NA region. You've seen them come in and take over. Players like Frosty, he comes in and he's just this dominant force, and maybe ANZ and Divine Mind and NutriBullet will be able to do it, but we are jumping in. NChef not lagging out this time, getting some crispy BR shots out. No one dropping just yet. Chef doing well to put in a lot of damage. Slays with the first kill. Junior taking one for himself, and it does look like Junior trying to get some ball time there, but Chef, I love Chef's patience here. He's doing really well to hold the correct angles and gets the better of Slays too, and gets that Stalker rifle as well. Well positioned by Chef, and he was just doing so much work for that Australian Rush squad.
Yeah, and he was doing it whilst obviously being aware that his teammates were down. You know, we've seen the rockets getting picked up right now. It's taken about 30 seconds for someone to even make an attempt at going for these, but we have Divine Mind Jr. He has the rockets in his hand as well as the ball, so you'd assume that once he gets a chance of a teammate coming, he'll get rid of that ball, but instead he has to blast one at his feet and is pushed back. We're seeing quite a bit, Justin, that with these new rockets, people still becoming used to the difference in splash damage from some of the previous iterations of Halo. Not often picking up kills when they think they will, but also doing a lot of damage to themselves. So the rockets, the function of the rockets has changed slightly, but Junior, we now will see as he gets reinforcements from his team, will drop that ball and hold on to these rockets here, and he's in a great position here to take out. Unfortunately, misses the rocket a second time, so these rockets haven't been that good for Junior. Misses the rocket on Bananasaurus there, and will instead back up a little bit with this BR, but unfortunately is taken down by Evan with this Bulldog. So he has unfortunately not been able to utilize those rockets as much as he would have liked, Junior, but they still were the Divine Mind squad able to get some score on the board, Justin, and that's the most important thing in this oddball game.
Yeah, sometimes with that rocket launch, you don't even need to get kills for him. You just, you know, you round a corner and you see that up on a Spartan's shoulder and you just go, nah, I'm going to let someone else deal with that. Rated with the double kill there for the Divine Mind squad. 30 points the scoreline. Divine Minds, they are out to a quick lead. Look at that. Rated quickly snapping up that kill with the Bulldog, switching over to his BR and putting off shots across map. Bananasaurus is there if he wants it. Unable to connect on that third shot. Maybe backing up a little bit and getting outside of that range, unfortunate. And Bananasaurus, one of my favorite gamer tags in the ANZ scene, putting in lovely shots into Berserk, backing him off. Berserk just lurking on the stairs there, trying to stay alive. And here comes the call out from Rated. Berserk and Rated, such a deadly duo there, Hughes.
Yeah, look, the Divine Mind started really strong here with the ball there. They've been able to position in this tram area the whole time, and they're just doing a really great job of knowing when to drop, knowing when to fight, and knowing when to go for those long periods of ball time. You can see here a teammate coming in on Slays, which is never something you want, but we are going to see here, I believe it's Alejo pushing in to try and take this ball, but we're going to have Berserk and Slays here fighting him off up on this stairwell here, and that's always a tricky situation there, Justin. That's that core part of Halo is 2-on-1. It's so hard to win a fight when you're that single person there, and you know, double teaming in Halo is so critical. That being said, we do have a triple in out of Evan, and so he's going to now be able to pick up the ball here in this tram area, and we're going to see a bit of a setup here for Australian Rush finally, Justin. This is the first time they've been able to get some solid ball time in.
Yeah, Avank just going in, getting that triple kill, just dropping all of Divine Mind. And that's what I was talking about. These guys know how to play. They've got plenty of talent. And Avank just goes in and cleans house on the second best team in our region right now. And they're getting some ball time as a reward. And, you know, Divine Minds, they've got a pretty comfortable lead right now. But Australian Rush, they're not down and out. And they're racking up some kills and putting up a very respectable fight. On board with Rated, he gets a kill and an assist. Hanging out with Berserk there. Chef, a couple of shots into him, and look at that. Chef desperately trying to get him, and that was really good effort from Chef to be really annoying kill there, milking as much time as possible as he could. And now Rated putting points on the board for his squad. 40 points, the difference right now. Not long until they click over to that 100-point mark. And Australian Rush, they've probably only got one more push in them, Hoots.
Yeah, I think you're right, Justin. It's interesting that we haven't seen the ball really leave this tram area at all. It's just stayed here the whole time, and it's whatever team wants to come and hold it, they can. But also interesting for Divine Mind, they're really happy to leave the ball players stuck in the garage here and be themselves out and about in, you know, amongst the palms and up around the alleyway and everything like that. They're not focused too much on cramping around the ball. They're letting the ball guy move around and saying, you know, if we're out of the base, we can be taking the fight to them a lot earlier, so they have to wait, get their shields back before they can push in, and hopefully we're starting to come back in on a respawn at that point. But look, we are seeing Divine Mind start to race away with this. They've only got 5 seconds left, and from what I can see, it doesn't really look like Australian Rush is going to be in a position to stop him. And as you can see, the pure confidence of Slays there, just jumping out in the middle even when the game wasn't yet over. He still had a few seconds left, but that's a pretty comprehensive first up round from Divine Mind, Justin.
Yeah, comfortable win there for the Divine Mind roster. And Chef trying to look over that spanker, make sure no players get it. Wonderful shots onto Rated there, really backed him off. So Chef doing well to put shots across map there. And here comes Berserk trying to clean up Chef. I mean, Chef, he's both rounds so far. He's had such strong openings, and Berserk waiting for him to come out, and look at that. Chef sniffed him out and challenges Berserk, one of the best players in the scene. Beautiful shots from him. And look at this, Australian Rush. They're starting to put some points on the board, Hoots.
Yeah, exactly, and they've got rockets as well in the hands of Evans, so he's going to move into this police department, and Berserk's going to be pretty much right underneath him, so he just needs to turn around and look at Berserk, who's throwing nades through this wall, and you can see he clearly knows he's there. He sees the grenades coming up, but smart not to go for the prediction rocket. He's just waiting, trying to conserve these as much as he can, but he is getting shot from behind, and then Berserk, no idea where he came from then, forces the trade, and that's actually going to be 4 down for Australian Rush. So Berserk, I don't know, was he climbing up in the walls, Justin? What was going on there?
I'm not sure. Sometimes you just bamboozle yourself. There's so many neon lights going around in the map, and it probably just got a little bit flushed in the face there, but we are board with Slays. He has that one rocket, does connect with it. Scoreline is pretty even. Look at this Australian Rush rushing in like Australians do and trying to push them out. And Divine Mind, they desperately need to rotate this ball. Slays trying to back up his teammate, and Junior running that ball back. He's trying to scrap some time. He's gone back the other way. He's ran the ball straight to them, and so I'm not sure what Junior was thinking there, Hoots, but Slays doing his best to stay alive and put in damage. Junior still alive? Yeah. How is that possible, Hoots?
And this is what we saw last Sunday, was that he was just able to stay alive in these ridiculous situations. You're right. I'm not sure really what the call was. They're bringing the ball back. I would have thought the communication would have said, you know, let's not head that way. It's pretty hot. But Junior, I thought he'd been dropped, and then you turn around and he's still just sitting there with no shields, obviously. So fantastic work to stay alive there. And he still hasn't been dropped yet. Now he's actually picking up ball time. So that's just a fantastic effort to stay alive there. Divine Mind have really been able to get themselves back into this game, and they've got rockets now as well in the hands of Slays. In fact, he's actually just picked them up off the respawn to reload. He had the old one still in his back pocket. So that just shows you how long Slays has actually been alive for without dying, and using these rockets to strong effect. Unfortunately, can't get that second shot off, and Junior will be the only one still alive momentarily for Divine Mind, as we do have rockets now back in the hands of Evan, Justin.
Yeah, Vank, with those rockets, he's only got one to play with, but that's enough to break up a setup. He does send it over into a wall instead of a player, unfortunately for him. That ball is just sitting there, Vank, choosing to try and respond to some call-outs, rotating around Australian Rush, putting some points on the board. Junior caught unawares there. Vank grabbing himself a kill, and look at this. The scoreline's starting to tick up for Australian Rush. They're doing very well against this Divine Mind roster. Vank just moving around the map so freely. It's kind of surprising he's not having a lot of pressure put on him. Yes, he just popped a grenade then, but you know, who doesn't throw a grenade in there when they're going past that area? A double kill there if he wants it. I love that sneaky play. Just hug the corner, an easy back whack, and you know, every player, doesn't matter how good they are, it's only one smack to the back and they're into the respawn screen, Hoots.
Yeah, it seems like Australian Rush is starting to get a bit of momentum now. They're about to take the lead back in terms of this round, and they've just had 3 or 4 dead momentarily for Divine Mind. So they've got this A set up, and this is working really well for them. It's interesting that Divine Mind haven't tried to actually bring the ball back to the tram area. It was really successful for them last round, but Australian Rush more than happy to hold it, and it looks like they're actually starting to rotate it potentially down to that tram area. That being said, we are on board with Chef. He was the one holding the ball, and he's dropped it just to get it out of there. Does really well to take down Junior there. Unfortunately, he's dropped it. That's a really big one to try and stop Divine Mind from being able to arrest some momentum here with the ball in the tram area. We're on board with Berserk, who's running down through the alleyway, through the tram, and we are going to see, unfortunately, Bananasaurus taken down there at tram. So rockets are up, and we're going to see, I believe, Berserk start to move in there. Really great back on Evan. That's crucial. He should be able to make a play for these rockets as he picks them up and just gets to safety. Also picks up the grenade kill on Chef. Randomly, Bananasaurus is dropped with the double, and he can push in here and look for a triple if he can get a prediction rocket. He's gone for it, Justin. He really wanted it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't going to work out for him.
Yeah, he is a few seconds too early there, Hoots. We did see the player come up in the spawn, so it does look like Berserk has been learning where each of those spawners are going to pop up. And look at this, Australian Rush. They've actually got the lead right now. Unbelievable. You know, we're alluding to Australian Rush being able to put things together if the opportunities arise, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. We're on board with Slays. He's got 9 kills on the board, and he's putting damage across map, and looks like Rated is going to start putting some points on the Divine Mind side of the game. And, you know, we're all even at the moment. Australian Rush, they're really performing, Hoots. I'm hyped.
Yeah, this is great from Rated. He observed that there was just a lot of chaos happening around that cafe area, and he said, I'm just going to try and get it out of here while everyone else fights. So he takes the ball, gets out of there. Everyone else is fighting around that cafe area while he can just put distance between himself and all the enemies and really start to rack up time. And look, this is a massive amount now, Justin. They've put about 30 uncontested seconds on this one run here, and they're closing it on 90 seconds. They're about to close this round out. So we're going to have Rated moving into the police station. Great work to stay alive and rotate the ball through there as he holds and starts to move through to A, but just keeping his head down. And Justin, I think that's about to be it. That's going to be the round. There's no one in position from Australian Rush to drop him, and that will be it. Divine Mind will take the second round and the victory. That's a great performance and great final rotation there from Rated with the ball.
Yeah, Divine Mind, they were, they were lagging behind just a little bit, but what they did is that they waited for the weapons and they waited to make their push, and they executed perfectly, got the ball, and then just went on this massive run. They didn't just keep challenging and scrapping, and that's the thing. All of that scrappy fighting, maybe that's what how Australian Rush managed to rack up so many points, because Divine Mind wasn't taking them seriously, and then they went, hey boys, they're actually 10 points in front of us. Are we going to take this game seriously or not? And then executed correctly as a team, and then rotated that ball perfectly and just went on a massive run.
So Junior only with the 8 kills, but 12 assists. I thought, I didn't even notice that his kills were so low in that game. But look, you see the damage being put out there. It's Berserk with 5,726. He's topping the leaderboard there. But what we're going to focus now is on Junior. He did put in a lot of time as carrier, Justin, over a minute, almost a minute and 10 seconds there. But he was just putting in a lot of work, Junior, and his ability to stay alive throughout that game at really crucial points, I think, was a massive difference in them being able to maintain some kind of setup at crucial points there. And that was what enabled Rated to actually take that ball and go on that long run of about 60 seconds.
Yeah, nail on the head as always, Hoots. Love your work running through some of these highlights here, and we are gonna be moving into this next game. It's not over just yet, and it's nice to see some signs of life from the Australian Rush guys. They're just gonna get the pan out and see if they can find some gold.
Yeah, it's a very good, a Sovereign Hill analogy for the Victorians who are watching. But yeah, look, the other thing that was of note as well was, I believe it was Slays who was just able to go on a run of not dying for so long whilst putting shots on. We saw that he had the rockets in his back pocket that were empty and was able to hold on and stay alive for so long that he ended up picking up the next rockets off respawn purely as ammo rather than a weapon pickup. So the inability, I think, of Australian Rush to shut down some of the key players on Divine Mind and not finish Slays was a really crucial loss there. But as I said before, then it was that final push, I think, that was the real difference between Divine Mind winning and losing that game, that rotation down to Tram.
I absolutely agree. And you know what? Quick tip about the rocket launcher. Don't grab the ammo. You can drop guns in Halo now. So just toss the spanker to the side and scoop up the next one. It's going to be ready to go. So Slays, if you need some coaching lessons, you can hit me up. I'll let you know my hourly rate. But anyway, Divine Minds, they're one up in the series so far. And are we going to see that trend continue, Hoots? Many would argue yes. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from Australian Rush. They're doing a lot of right things. I talked about it early on in the first couple of rounds, that Chef, his angles that he was holding off the rip and doing damage for his teammates and suppressing the pushes from Divine Minds. That's some classic Halo. And if you are able to keep up consistency with that type of gameplay, you're going to start taking maps off people. It doesn't matter who you're fighting.
Yeah, I thought he did a fantastic job there. You're right. We watched him several times holding around that A stronghold, just peeking around that elbow there, down towards the Bulldog area. So yeah, his positioning was fantastic. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out across the board for them. But look, they've got a chance to redeem themselves now as we move into this Aquarius Slayer game. All's on the line here. All is on the line here for Divine Mind. If they win this game, they go straight through to the next round. Australian Rush, they need to win this one to stay alive. We're moving straight to Slayer. Names to watch in this one, Justin. Who are you wanting to focus on?
Oh, wow. Well, we highlighted Chef. I'd like to see what he can do. I know he didn't stop grinding towards the end of Halo 5. He used that opportunity to try and hone his skills a little bit. Skills while everyone was sleeping and napping. He was training during the off season, and it does look like it's starting to pay off for him. And Chef with that lovely space station skin, the yellow and the black looks fantastic. And look at this, he's taking angles and putting damage down on the map. And look at Rated just doing the classic Halo 5 thruster, really taking Chef off guard there, but doing the right things off the rip. Now on board with Slays, back on the Divine Mind roster after a couple of weeks off. Gets a nice little clean up there, slides past the second players, tries to whip around Alejo trying to stay alive, but the team shot is too strong there. Him going down. 2 kills already for Slays, and it's 5-0 in the scoreline, Hoots.
Yeah, I'm loving the movement around the map here. I mean, we just saw the thruster back before where he just completely seizured off our screens pretty much and shot across, and then the slide through as well to avoid the back smack. He's just moving around the map really well, but I think we might be having potentially a little bit of a technical. We've just changed over, so I think maybe just Slave's just having a little bit of an issue there, but we're back on with Chef, who is just hanging out. I think we might be looking at potentially a bit of a restart here, as we have had a player drop. So look, we'll continue casting just in case we can get a reconnect soon. But I think we're gonna keep going. So we're on board with Evan here. We do have the 9-5 lead for Divine Mind, as we're on board with Evan with the perfect on Junior. But I think these players are still just trying to figure out exactly what is going on as we have a player down here. So Berserk's going to be dropped. Raiden dropped as well. There's a double. That's a great effort there from Alejo, and Bananasaurus we're now on board with. Shots onto Junior at the flag there. He gets another perfect. So we've seen quite a few of these today, Justin, already. In this game, sorry, I should say. And we have that camo popping up in 15 seconds.
Yeah, and now back on board with Chef. I seem to be gassing up quite a bit this series, putting shots down the map, using that new threat indicator there. He's highlighting players across the map to ping them for his teammates, and combine that with some callouts, you can get solid information. It looks like they're all getting poised to grab this camo. Chef he's baiting it out a little bit. He didn't want to be the first one to grab it. He does manage to grab it. He's going to pop it onto his chest and try and stay alive. It's critical that he doesn't go down here. Berserk trying to find, Raiden trying to find him. He does get the trade, but Berserk, you know, his duo just comes in with an easy cleanup, so not able to utilize that camo all that much. Junior comes in with the back killjoy for him, and Junior, how many kills has he got right now? He's got 6 kills, 6 and 4, so he's still doing pretty well, even though they're playing 3 players down, and he's found himself a Alejo, or the bait and switch comes in and Vank gets an easy cleanup on Junior, and that's the problem when you're a player down like that. You haven't got as much backup. It makes it really difficult. But look, Divine Mind, they're still 2 up, Hoots.
Yeah, absolutely. I have just had in my ear confirmed from the admins that play will continue as per the rules, so we stick with it here. And we do have Divine Mind still holding this 2-kill lead, so even though a man down, they are doing really well to maintain this lead and not get overrun here. And we're going to see, it's going to be interesting, Justin, are we going to see them try and maintain some kind of a distance and stick to further range fights where they can be ducking out? Because a lot of the time we do see when players get up close and personal, that's when it can get pretty messy. And if you're in a 2-on-1 up close, that can be a really difficult battle to win. So are we going to see Divine Mind try and take this a bit more passively, fight from a distance? The one thing they do need to worry about, though, is obviously they are a man down, so they can easily get overrun, as we are seeing here Berserk being pushed in here by Chef, and Chef is able to take him down. So they are going to have those issues where they do just get easily collapsed. On that being said, though, they're still maintaining a lead here. They've actually broken out to a 3-kill lead, so it was getting close, but they're staying alive here. And Junior almost out-BRing Evan there, but they're just doing their best, and that's a typical thing we've always said about Junior, is his ability to stay alive long enough that even if he can't win the fight, a teammate can come in and easily neutralize it, and that's so important in some of these fights, especially when you're a man down, Justin.
That's a good analysis of Junior. You are spot on, in my opinion. That fresh camo is up, though. Chef going in to grab it again. Berserk's got to clear him out. He's so weak. That grenade that he threw out a good 10 minutes ago, getting the cleanup on him. Berserk does go down. Divine Mind, they're hanging on by 2 kills. And look, this is a good test. They're 2 kills down. And a player down. No, sorry, 2 kills up and a player down. It's a good test of them and their teamwork to work together as a trio to take down the full strength Australian Rush Hoots. They really need to be on their toes, have their communication flowing, and not make any mistakes. Yeah,
absolutely. And what we've seen here is that it looked like Australian Rush thought they were moving in for a push on that flag there for a bit of a collapse. Unfortunately, they got it wrong, and they've started to spread out now. And so they're going to be able to, if Divine Mind can work together well, they can isolate these guys, because they are only pushing in as a 1 or a 2 in some instances. Look at Junior again, just staying alive on this box, doesn't he? Is finally taken down, but it does take them a while, and Australian Rush now do take the lead. So, this 1 man down situation that Divine Mind do find themselves in, it can eventually start to become a little bit overwhelming as you find yourself having to take fights so many times. But a very, very lucky spawn there from Divine Mind. I didn't actually see who that was, able to get behind and get a quick kill. And we do have here still just this 1 kill gap. So Justin, this isn't blowing out by any stretch, even though they are a man down.
No, and it's... Yeah, I'm not sure if that's impressive for Divine Mind or embarrassing for Australian Rush, because it's completely even right now. I'll let the chat decide on that one. You know, start a Twitter poll and find out. And 30 points apiece is the scoreline. Junior putting some shots into a bank. But here comes Bananasaurus. This is the problem when you're a player down. You get 1 weak, 2 kills in favor of Divine Mind there. And Australian Rush, they've just taken the lead again. Chef cleaning up kills with Alejo there. And look at this. Chef trying to shoot the spawners. He's doing a little bit of prediction here. Trying to stay alive. That camo is about to pop. Is he going to go for it? Is he going to bait a little bit? Alejo still top mid and primed to try and get this camo. He does grab it. Did he manage to get it on? No, it's on the ground. Ready to be scooped up. I think Divine Mind, they've got to get up there and they've got to get that camo so they can create some situations for themselves, Hoots.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely crucial here, especially when you're a man down, to have someone that can sneak around and provide assistance without getting seen, especially when you're a man down, is so crucial. But look, we are seeing they're hanging. It's still 36 all, and for Australian Rush, at what point does this become frustrating, where you find no matter what we do and we're a man up, we still can't force a lead? This has got to start to get on their minds. Get on their minds, and we are just seeing some really great teamwork of trying to stay together as much as they can. It's almost like, Justin, when you are a man down, that your teamwork just goes up another level, because you know that you've got no chance trying to take individual fights and you have to stick together as a team. We do have a camo in the hand of Bananasaurus here. Australian Rush have opened up a 2-kill lead, which is one of their biggest, and we do see that now. We have Junior and Berserk dropped here, so Bananasaurus has this camo but doesn't even really need to use it right now as his team's running around. And I think, Justin, we are starting to see Divine Mind start to fall a little bit. Australian Rush starting to put a bit of a gap on as they start to roam around here and pick up a fair few of these kills on the bottom. And as we've seen, Bananasaurus hasn't actually been dropped yet for quite a while.
Yeah, and perhaps we can use this opportunity to highlight something for the people at home and players that are, you know, not as highly ranked as the guys on Divine Mind, is that they lose a player and all of a sudden you can prove that they can be taken down. It was like, oh, well, SSJ4, of course we can take them down if they're down a player. But the point is, if you wait for a pick, you get them a player down and then push as a unit, then you can do the same thing. It just means that that player is in the respawn screen rather than sit at home waiting for the internet to turn back on. So get your picks and collapse, and these players can bleed. If you two-stack one of these guys, it doesn't matter how good they are, you're going to take them out faster, because 2 BRs is better than 1, Hoots.
Yeah, and we are seeing Australian Rush. There's actually only 1 kill in it now, Justin, so this is getting intense. Australian Rush up by 1, but we are seeing Divine Mind really holding this staircase here. They don't want to give up any kills, because once one of them drops, it's a 4-on-2 effectively. So look at the team shot coming through on Evan there. Really good work by Divine Mind. We see there must be a camo player around here, because we have Junior, who's going pretty crazy with the BR, taking a few pot shots. He's dropped to 1 shot, and unfortunately it looks like Evan's going to come in, but he's using that thruster perfectly. Justin is able to escape a few times, but it looks like Australian Rush are able to put a 2-kill gap on here. Alejo's dropped, so now we have on board with Rated. He's dropped as well, so only 1 kill left for Australian Rush. This is going to be really hard for the Divine Mind to come back from. They're spawning on the opposite side of the map, and we're going to have Bananasaurus starting to move in. As you can see, the rest of his teammates following in on the right-hand side of him, so we're going to see a confrontation between Berserk and Bananasaurus here. It looks like Bananasaurus gets the first few shots. I mean, Berserk just has to try and get away and stay alive. 47-49, Australian Rush just need this last kill to come through, although strong team shot there on Bananasaurus, so 48-49 in favour of Australian Rush. They just need that one more, but Divine Mind managing to eke out and stay alive whenever they can. Shots on Enchef across the way from Junior. He can't finish him off. Gets the assist, so we're actually at 49 also. This is the last kill, Justin. We don't know what's going to happen here. Junior just hanging out very out in the open. He's got shots. He sees Alejo at the distance. Berserk putting shots on. Junior's coming in on the flank, actually. And we can see he's putting in shots, and he actually gets it. Junior 50-49. Out of nowhere, a man down. I think they were down 3 or 4 kills towards the end there, Justin. And they managed to pull out one of the more insane wins in one of the more insane games you could ever see.
Yeah, look, it was an unfortunate series of events having that player disconnect there and not be able to rejoin as per the rules. And it ended up being a bit of an interesting game, the 49-49 finish. Yes, there was a player down, but as I was saying, it's a perfect example. You have numbers on the map and you move around correctly, you're going to be able to challenge these guys. So get your slays and make your pushes. It's that simple, the Halo fundamentals. I bang on about it all the time. We do have Fluke here joining us. What did you make of that?
That had everything, lads. I've seen quite a lot of Halo. I've seen quite a lot of esports, and that had literally everything and the kitchen sink thrown at it. But congratulations to the Divine Mind boys for qualifying over to tomorrow. Obviously, the disconnect is something that we never want to see from these players, especially not being able to rejoin the lobby. But outside of that, Divine Minds, they still got the second map victory. It's a 2-0 for them here as well. Had some big heavy lifting here from Berserk as well, and Hoots. I mean, like, the mental fortitude, the tenacity, the skills, everything. These Divine Mind guys, they've got it all.
Mate, I thought, and we'll probably get to it in the highlights in a second, I thought that was all over. It wasn't just the fact that they were, I think they were down something like 49, 46 or 47 or something like that. But there were several instances there where Divine Mind guys were taking hits and were no shields, but they were able to back up and just the coordination to get those last few kills. And we saw, I'm pretty sure it was Junior that got that last kill. You could see on the heads up that his player marker had managed to sneak up top mid while all the focus was on Berserk and Raided. So for him to be able to just get up there and take on a fight and get that final kill is incredible. And it's not just that, they've won the series as well. We haven't even mentioned that. That's them. That's 2-0. So look, I feel for the Australian Rush guys. It's got to be a hard way to go out, but wow, for the Divine Mind guys, I think that does show sort of the kind of company they're in at the top of Australian Halo. Like, them and Nutribullet really are the top two teams, it seems like, when we see performance like that.
Yeah, that's really got to be a massive hype up for the boys. Unfortunately, we don't get to see them anymore today, but going into tomorrow, this has got to be a really massive boost for these guys, being able to come back from the brink, pull it forward, get the 2-0, make it, push themselves into the next day, and I think it is just absolutely insane that these Divine Mind guys were able to get this done. 50-49 on a Slayer is an absolute butt pucker for anybody who is playing in competitive Halo, and it is insane to see that we got here in one of our qualification series, Justin, because I think it's just a massive relief for Divine Mind fans, and everybody in chat just to be able to see Divine Mind come out against all odds.
Yeah, it is very fortunate for them, and you know what? Slays may have lagged out, but he got 2 kills before he did. So there's the difference maker, even sitting at home, cheering him on from the sidelines as the water boy in that game. Maybe those 2 kills was the difference, only 1 kill difference at the end. So, Slays doing work for the squad even when he lags out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big kind of follower of angry gaming. Just being able to funnel everything that you've got, all your emotions, and getting it into the game and utilizing that to power up. And it seems like the Divine Mind boys did that to a T, Hoots. And I'm just excited to see what they can pull out because, so far, outside of them, playing on that Slayer match, they still showed that they have a massive amount of coordination. And I think that's a good thing for us to touch on is them coming in with a brand new roster as well, slotting in a few players that they've had floating around. And now they're looking good, especially going into the rest of this kickoff qualifier where they're going to be, jetting off to the USA pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We were saying on the call, it was just when you are that man down, it's your teamwork just kicks into overdrive, and you could see just they were hanging in really tight packs and just eking out every life they had. There was Junior several times, no shields, just ducking behind tiny boxes just in the hope that while players rushed him and got out of position to finish him off, that someone from his team would come in and be able to help out and maybe at least get a trade. And they were in that position for so long where the score was even or they were up by just a kill that you'd take trades every day of the week because that'll get you towards the end and eke out that 1 kill victory. And that's pretty much how it ended up. Some of those trades were just crucial in getting them that 1 kill win.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good kind of highlight of being able to have this idea of your life is much more important than you trying to secure a kill, about, making sure that you're taking cover, you're regenerating those shields, you're coming back in to take that fight. Instead of peeking when you're one-shot, Justin, and I think this is a good show for a lot of the players out there. Obviously I've learned a lot from these pro players today. I'm sure Twitch chat can learn a few things from these pros, just making sure that your life is much more valuable than taking that fight. Listen,
don't peek. The doc says it all the time. Don't peek. If you want to keep your head, you don't peek. And, Junior, as Hoots was saying, putting on a clinic on that, utilizing just a sliver of cover. Like, if all the cover he had was a blade of grass, you would see Junior ducking and diving around that blade of grass trying to stay alive. And, you know, that's what it takes to win 3v4, and they managed to do it. And it was a good test for those guys as well, is that they needed to coordinate and play the game seriously rather than being a little bit more relaxed. Because, you know, if you're a top squad, you're like, oh yeah, boys, you know, like we'll just casually take these guys out. But all of a sudden you're a man down, then you need to, you know, pay attention again, because they probably thinking, you know, we'll finish off, we'll have some dinner, we'll watch the rest of the broadcast. But no, they had to put the NOS bottles back on in their cars and go for it.
Yeah, exactly, and it just shows a whole lot of mental fortitude, and I'm sure that's going to give them a whole lot of wind in their sails going into the next day of our kickoff qualifier. Divine Mind get themselves into our second day of play, but it's time for us to go to a short break, ladies and gentlemen, so we can reset ourselves and set our sights onto the elimination bracket. We're going to be heading into R-rated versus Strafe. Make sure you guys don't miss this.